What's up, YouTubers? With CW's The Flash coming up in October, with the Justice League movie, which will also have its own version of The Flash in it, we're going to be doing a little bit more DC-centric stuff here on my channel. So to get us primed, let's go ahead and jump into a quick breakdown on the fastest man alive, Barry Allen, The Flash. Before we dig in, I post new videos every week. Make sure to click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and also tap that bell button so you make sure you don't miss anything. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. Barry Allen isn't the first Flash to ever come along. The original Flash was Jay Garrick, but we're not really here to talk about Jay Garrick. We'll probably talk about him more if and when he pops back up on the CW show, or when another time is more appropriate. Barry Allen showed up back in 1956 in Showcase number 4, and he was created by Robert Knider and Carmine Infantino. Barry Allen was a little bit of a departure from some of the superhero shenanigans that people were used to seeing back in the 1950s. You gotta think, up to that point, all we really had were characters like Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman. All these characters were, wartime heroes, and that was what we were used to seeing. He's also a little bit of a different hero in the sense that he has, unlike some of your typical superheroes and their backstories, he was a little bit different in the sense that his character was more rooted in science versus, aliens or billionaires or mystical, magical people. Barry Allen's origin is straightforward enough. Basically, he's working in his lab one night, lightning bolt comes down, strikes him and a stand full of a bunch of random chemicals. They spill all over him. Next thing you know, he's got super speed. This is probably one of the most straightforward origins you could ever ask for. Before we jump into some of the Flash's history, let's go over his power set. When it comes to power set, that is where the Flash kind of separates himself from a lot of other characters, because you'll probably think, oh, well, Superman is, super fast. He has super speed, so that must make him the same thing. And technically in the beginning, that was kind of the case. But when they introduced the Speed Force, that is where they separated the men from the boys. In the beginning of Flash's tenure, he was thought to be able to run faster than the speed of thought. And this is kind of where the whole, I'm the fastest man alive moniker came along. But they later kind of went back and increased his power level to where he can actually run faster than the speed of light, and in some instances has been known to be able to run 10 times faster than the speed of light. He can run fast enough that he can crack the time barrier, which allows him to travel through time, travel to parallel Earths, and all sorts of other crazy, wacky shenanigans. Barry uses his speed in very interesting ways compared to other characters that you've probably read about in comics who have super speed. With Barry's super speed comes his heightened perception. Barry's able to perceive things, so that way when he's moving at these lightning fast speeds, he doesn't crash into anything. He can actually perceive things at what would, I guess, for him be considered normal speed, even when he's reaching faster than light speeds. He can read an entire library in the blink of an eye and even retain the knowledge for a limited amount of time. Because of his super speed, he also has a healing factor, which allows him to recover from injuries that would normally cripple just about anybody else in almost no time at all. He also has the ability to control every molecule in his body, allowing himself to vibrate at different frequencies that allow him to pass through solid matter, and sometimes even pass into, other universes. He's also been known to move his body at certain speeds to allow him to wave his arms and create vortexes to build up enough speed to fling bolts of lightning. He's been able to do a lot of crazy stuff with his powers. Barry Allen is probably one of the more creative DC characters when it comes, and I would even say in comic books period, when it comes to really milking his powers for all they're worth. Back in the day, Barry Allen was not considered the fastest of all the Flashes, but by the time you get to DC Rebirth, I would even say maybe even New 52, he is at that point considered the fastest Flash of them all. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that Wally West is no longer around in New 52, at least not the Wally West that became the fastest Flash. One of the cool things about the way they did this too is that they kind of baked in Jay Garrick to Barry Allen's character by making him be someone, a superhero character that Barry Allen looked up to as a kid. So it's kind of a way to keep Jay Garrick around, even though technically they baked Jay Garrick more into the Flash's mythos as the character's cachet kind of increased and built up over the years. Once again, Barry Allen is such a departure from the normal types of heroes we had. You can even go back to some issues back in the day where you can actually even quote Batman as saying Barry Allen's the kind of guy that he would have hoped to become if his parents hadn't been killed. That's just the type of character that he was. He was a character that was steeped in tragedy. He always had crazy stuff happening to him. Like his loved ones were always in danger. There was always some fate of the world thing going on or some personal crises in his life. But he always managed to keep a grin or a smile on his face or somehow managed to find the bright side in things. Which is what made his disappearance at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths even more baffling. Because they were getting away from his type of character. They eventually passed the torch over to his sidekick, Wally West, who took the moniker Flash and kind of made his own way in the DC universe. But anyways, back to Crisis on Infinite Earths. This was one of those storylines that DC put together to try and basically clean up the multiverse shenanigans they had created by introducing all the different Earths, like Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 3, so on and so on and so on and so on. The idea behind Crisis on Infinite Earths was to get everything pared back down to maybe ultimately one Earth, but maybe not more than 2 or 3. They wound up slowly reintroducing those alternate Earths. But in this storyline, which I'm going to do a full breakdown on it later, but just go ahead and let you know right now, the conclusion of Crisis on Infinite Earths has Barry Allen sacrifice himself to save the world, and he quotey fingers disappears in the crisis and is presumed dead for a very long time. And let's be fair here, where normally in comic books we always joke about, oh, that character's not dead, they'll be back in, a month or 2 or a year or 2. Barry Allen stayed dead for roughly 23 years. And we got a glimpse of Barry Allen, being chased through the Speed Force by the Black Racer, but it really didn't come down until Final Crisis where Barry Allen made his triumphant return. I'm not going to get into any of the Final Crisis shenanigans, but we will just go ahead and say real quickly that what this led to was writer Jeff Johns coming in and bringing in Flash Rebirth, which not to be confused with the current run of the Flash. And in Flash Rebirth, this was basically reintroducing readers to a character that had been gone for 20 plus years, kind of resetting the status quo and whatnot and getting everything back on track for the Scarlet Speedster. One of Barry Allen's next big exploits is in Flashpoint. Barry Allen goes back in time and saves his mother from being killed by the Reverse Flash, coming to find out he's undone the timeline and created Flashpoint, where nothing is like it was before he went back. It's a world where he and Iris West never came together, Bruce Wayne never became Batman. In fact, his father, Thomas Wayne, survived the Crime Alley incident. Superman never landed in Kansas, and the list just keeps on going on and on. This ultimately led to Barry Allen having to try and recreate the incident that gave him his powers in the first place, teaming up with Thomas Wayne as a Batman and trying to track down the Reverse Flash and figure out how to turn the timeline back to the way it was. And in the end, it ultimately led to the Reverse Flash's death and the creation of the New 52. And the New 52 is kind of a mixed bag for a lot of people. Me personally, I haven't gone through the entire Flash New 52 run, but for me, it's kind of a mixed bag as well. There's things I like about it, there's things I hate about it, and there's some things I'm just kind of ambivalent towards. But this was one of those where people felt the Flash got way too off base, and he did. We also lost characters that, were important. And this is also a timeline where Iris West and the Flash are not dating, married, or anything. Wally West is gone, and a new Wally West has come to take his place. And then it's crazy. You'll have to read it for yourself. I think of all the New 52, Flash was one of the books that suffered the worst of anything. The good news is that the Flash seems to be back in capable hands under Joshua Williamson, and is off to a fantastic start in DC Rebirth, the new imprint DC Rebirth, not Jeff Johns' Flash Rebirth. Oh man, that is really confusing. Heaven help you if you are a newcomer to the Flash and you're trying to figure out where to start. I feel like that's a good place to leave it, because I'm also going to be doing some videos on Flash Rebirth, so that way we can, get you a little bit more in-depth information, and it's also a good jumping on point for if you, know nothing about the Flash and want to get started. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, click that like button. And if you haven't done so already, click my cartoony smiling face in the circle so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and hit the bell button too so you get everything. Once again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you next time. Plus Ultra.